Welcome to You Can Do It Too. I'm Joan Hutchinson, your restaurant maven. I'm a former caterer and restaurateur turned hospitality restaurant business consultant and public speaker. I started this podcast because I've met a lot of young people in their 20s and 30s who were very successful. When I talked with them about their businesses, I was so inspired. It's not that obstacles didn't pop up for them, it's just that they didn't see them as a problem, which is a huge part of why and how they overcame those obstacles and became so successful. It was their mindset. I was so inspired by them, and I realized I could really use some regular inspiration to keep working on my dreams. I figured I wasn't alone. It's just so important that all of us realize we all have it in us to succeed. So, You Can Do It Too was born. I have since interviewed many folks, both young and more experienced in life, we'll call it. We drop new episodes every other Sunday. And if you enjoy a specific episode, please rate it. I'd love it if you could give us a 5-star review and share it with someone you think could benefit. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. Thanks for joining me today on You Can Do It Too. I'm Joan Hutchinson, your restaurant maven. I'm going on my 3rd year with this podcast, and I want to thank you all so much for listening. I hope you get as much out of listening as I do when I'm recording. This year, we're going to change it up a bit. I'm still going to be interviewing some amazing folks. We'll talk about how they overcame the obstacles in their lives and how that changed their futures. I'm also going to be talking about hospitality. Why? Because we all could use some care for ourselves and others, and we all have to have skills in this area, in our jobs and in our lives. I hope you'll enjoy the coming episodes. Please be sure to share any topics you would like to discuss after the show. And did you know that you can even leave a voice message? Isn't technology amazing? So I've talked a lot about my mother because she was an amazing role model. My mom was born in 1925. She was one of only 3 graduates from high school in her town. It was a 1-room schoolhouse that only went to 10th grade. At 16, she moved from Nova Scotia, Canada to Detroit to go to business college. I think it was actually secretarial school, but that's what she called it. She waited until she was 24 to get married, which in those days was pretty old. She had 10 pregnancies, and then she went back to school. My father died just a few days after I turned 3. And with 6 girls living at home, my mom finished college and became a teacher. She was strong, she was smart, and she knew she could accomplish anything. Now that's inspiring. I know not everyone had a role model like my mom, and all of us kids were really tried to be just half the inspiration that my mom was. We were so lucky, and we all know it. I've been what some folks call a risk taker, but I never saw myself that way. I just wanted adventure and new experiences. Might have gotten it from mom. I didn't see a downside. It's all in how you look at it. Just like I say in the introduction to this, it's about mindset. But today I'm not going to dwell on mindset. I want to give you some advice that you can take action on today. Let me start with the story. My husband and I had been catering for several years when an opportunity to become managing partners of a restaurant came our way. It had a beautiful Spanish-style courtyard plus an indoor space that was just perfect for weddings and events. In Southern California, outside is the place, and that courtyard was really beautiful. It was also in a business area, so it was perfect because we could feed the business people during the week and do the events, which we loved, on the weekends. Then Mother's Day came up, as it does every year, of course, and we promoted a Mother's Day brunch. But ours was going to be different. It was a multi-course plated and served brunch, not the usual all you could eat, all you could drink champagne brunches that they were happening everywhere. So we were going to be different, right? We were excited and we had a crazy amount of reservations. We had over 200 people on our first year. Awesome, right? Good problem to have. Yeah, oh my. We thought we knew what we were doing. People were changing the number of people in their party when they arrived. They showed up early. They showed up late. They didn't show up at all. It was insane. I didn't have a table chart with stations made out in advance, thinking that I could figure that out when I got there in the morning. And there were at least 25 messages on the machine when I got there. I had umbrellas for the courtyard, which, is of course where everyone wanted to sit. But guess what? The sun moves. So all day I was moving those umbrellas. And of course, the entire table could never be covered. Not only that, we didn't prep the right amount of food. So the last hour we were running out of things that people were ordering. And sometimes because we were so... If you're an expert in your field, have a unique story to tell, or an interesting point of view, it's time to explore the world of podcasting with Kitcaster, a podcast booking agency. You can expect a completely customized concierge service from their staff of communication experts. Kitcaster is your secret weapon in podcasting for business. Your audience is waiting to hear from you. Go to kitcaster.com/maven to apply for a special offer for friends of this podcast. Planned, the people had been waiting for a while before the kitchen even saw the ticket and knew they didn't have it. I was a wreck. I was running around. It was insane. And we comped a lot of meals that day. I just thank God that social media didn't exist then. That would have been scary. I didn't sleep for days after. I had made so many mistakes, and each one was playing over and over in my mind. I felt like a failure. So Ginny St. Lawrence, who I interviewed last year, said, anything in life, you learn from these opportunities, you grow. That's what she said. There's always something to learn. And boy, I had a lot to learn. So, of course, Mother's Day comes every year. The next Mother's Day was approaching, and let's face it, it's the busiest day in a restaurant. And so, of course, we were going to do Mother's Day brunch again. I was worried, but I was determined not to go through what I went through the year before. So I went to our reservation book to find the notes because I was sure I had made notes. I knew I wrote everything that went wrong down, right? Guess what? They weren't there. I could swear I had written notes. So I searched more and more. The restaurant industry has what's called a red book. It's actually a red book, and that is actually what they call it. You write information about the day, you put like weather there and any guest incidents. And of course, if you had a day like that, that's where you would put all your notes. And we didn't have one. We should have. But you know what? One night I went to my journal and I thought, I wonder if I wrote anything in there. And there I found them. I had written out all the problems that had happened. I was having such a hard time sleeping that I would get up and write in my journal, and I couldn't stop thinking about each and everything that went wrong. So I kept thinking there had to be some way that I could have gotten away without having to comp that table of 20 that came the last hour. Yet you heard that right. I comped a table of 20. I was so grateful to have written in my journal. I went through every painstaking detail, and I'll tell you what, we didn't make those mistakes in year 2. Of course, we made different mistakes, but they weren't as bad, right? We got better every year. And I'll tell you what, I learned to write in the reservation book. I even kept copies of my table chart. I wrote how many bottles of juice we went through and how many scones were left over. And I was insane about it, but I got better every year. So why did I tell you that story? Number one, if you run a restaurant, you need to get a red book. And everyone else and restaurateurs, write in a journal every day. There's a study by Dr. Gail Matthews. She found that writing down goals dramatically increased achievement rates. If you write in a journal, if you physically write down in a journal, you're 42% more likely to succeed. It seems like the physical act of writing it down helps steer your success ship. Leonardo da Vinci, Marie Curie, Thomas Edison, Beatrix Potter, Ray Bradbury, Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Matthew McConaughey, all kept journals of some sort. It is proven to decrease anxiety and improve your mental state. You can use the journal for your personal thoughts and feelings, planning, goal setting, daydreaming, anything you like, any and all of these reasons. They're going to help put you on track for success. So that's my message this week. Grab a notebook and start writing. Start journaling. I promise your life's going to be better for it. And hey, if you need some help with your restaurant or hospitality business, go to www.yourrestaurantmaven.com and let's connect. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks to Chris Hutchinson for editing this and all my podcasts. Make sure to like and subscribe and get that journal. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.